What is up, and welcome back to another episode of So There's That. I am your hostess, doing the mostest, She, and we are here with it. Welcome to Derry, Season 1, Episode 4, titled The Great Swirling Apparatus of Our Planet's Function. Now, I see what y'all did with the title here. I love a good double tone. Okay. The writer of this episode is Helen Shang. The director is Andrew Bernstein. The cinematographer is Rasmus Heise. And then I also wanted to include the Indigenous casting was done by Angelique Midthunder, and the Indigenous costume designer was Lyndsay Reader. So I wanted to include that because this episode goes deeper into the Indigenous lore surrounding Pennywise and just kind of like the lands of Derry and why he's there in the first place. So of course, had to include the two people who were responsible for getting other Indigenous people in front of the camera. And then shout out to the team for just getting Indigenous people behind the scenes to be able to make this as authentic as possible. Now, we gotta brag a little bit. We gotta boast a little bit because I'm pretty sure I said on this platform in episode 2, I think, and I'm gonna insert the clip of me saying it so y'all know I'm not lying, where I was like, it must be really good to be Bill Skarsgård and get paid like a shit ton of money to only come into the episode around episode 5. And it's been swirling around the internet and confirmed that Pennywise will make his debut in episode 5. Like, hello. We're gonna get to the other thing that I'm gonna boast about. Okay, because your girl, she's here. She's locked in. Okay. I am in tune with stories and writing and just kind of setting stuff up. So I'm constantly watching things with an investigative eye. Um, but I did want to bring up shout out to the cinematographer Rasmus Heis. So the last episode I did, episode 3, he was cinematographer. And I had got this YouTube comment and it was like, thanks for spelling my name right. And I was like, wait, what? So I'm like looking at this and I'm looking at the name of the person commenting and I'm like, this this can't be who I think it is. And at first, y'all, I'm not even gonna lie, I thought it was like some sarcasm. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't spell this man's name wrong. Like, did I mistype? You know, it happens sometimes you're typing fast or whatever. And I realized it was Rasmus Heis. And the thing that I skipped over initially because I'm so stressed, um, I was like, he put a heart after it. So I don't know if people be spelling his name wrong. I like to use my eyes to look at the opening and closing credits and try to spell it and type it. Obviously if I do the stuff on the phone, it's gonna auto correct. So I have to really like pay attention. And I've made mistakes before. Um, but his name is important and the spelling of his name is important. And so thank you for coming to my little page. Um, and yeah, visiting. I don't know if you stayed for the whole thing, but I appreciate you coming. I appreciate what you do. So thank you, Rasmus. Um, the love is felt and much appreciated. Now, let's get into this recap. This episode was so long. I tried to organize this as best as I can so that it's cohesive. Y'all know I'm already scatterbrained as it is. I cannot do this retelling going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Like, I can't. So we're gonna get into the recap segment called As Seen on TV. Boom. We here at the police station, and my good kids are like, yes. It's Scooby and the gang, and we got hard evidence because y'all already know they went to the graveyard the last episode and they were getting the pictures. They went to the school, they got them developed, and they're like, boom, this is everything we need to get Ronnie's dad out of jail. Like, we are young activists. We are here. We're making history. They handed them pictures over to the police chief and got laughed out of the station. Why? Because nothing was on those pictures, with the exception of the clown figure in the background. And the chief is like, girl, you thought Juniper Hill was a threat before? It's going to be permanent if you keep playing with my time. So they get laughed out of the precinct, and you just feel so bad for them because they are super defeated. But you know who don't get laughed out of the precinct? One Charlotte Hanlon. Listen, my sis showed up in Derry with the squinty eyes, and she ain't let up since. So in the morning, she's reading her newspaper, she's making her coffee, her man has gone to work, and she ain't got no job right now. And she sees that Hank has been arrested for the murder of 4 kids. And so she like, "Mm." So the only other black person in this town is in jail for the murder of some white kids. Something don't sound right. When Rose ends up showing up with the lamp that she ordered the other day. So she's like, hey girl, I'm making some coffee. You want to come inside? And Rose is like, sis, love meeting up with brown people in the neighborhood. Of course. So I love this scene so much because they're really like trying to feel each other out and size each other up. And Rose kind of takes the inconspicuous route at trying to get a little bit of the tea. Um, when she's like, oh, how's your husband faring over there at like with the dig sites and stuff like that? Like, just trying to keep like, what's up? And so Charlotte was like, oh, Leroy don't do that. He's a pilot. So wherever they got him going, whatever. And so I this is my first time watching this with the closed captions. But this is like the first time I've heard her actually say his name. Because most times when they had dinner, she'd be like, okay, major, which is normal in military life, like last names, rank, whatever. Um, and Charlotte, she don't have time to be tiptoeing. She was like, hey, he got arrested for killing these kids. Is there something I need to know about? Should I be worried? And Rose says, things happen from time to time. Never a bad idea to keep the people you love close. And so they end up exchanging numbers. Charlotte's like, bet I'm picking up what you put down and I'm hearing what you didn't say. So Will comes home later that day. He's in his room. He's frantic. He's looking for some things. And like a good old black mama, she done closed the door, scared the shit out of him. She was like, you looking for these? Sir, what in the hell? What is going on? And so um he sits and he actually tells her the majority of the truth, as close to the truth as he can. And he just lands on somebody was in the graveyard, like chasing them, stalking them, whatever. And he's like super scared and everything like that. And so she's like, listen, we just gonna keep this between me and you, but you're going to school when you come home until I figure out what is going on. And I love this moment because so often parents do not believe they kid. We seen what happened with Lilly. Her mama shipped her off. And in this, you know, Charlotte, she from the South, right? And a lot of like hoodoo, voodoo, spirituality, culture, just kind of feeling the vibes, feeling the lands. Most people from the South, most people whose family came from the South, and they're still kind of like in touch with those things. They still kind of believe in that. So I like this moment that she mothered him and believed him and said, let me figure out what's going on. So what she do? She got her purse, she put on her good suit, she moves it on down to the police station, and she talks to the chief and she like, so why is Hank locked up? because it don't really look like y'all did any real investigating. And so what that means is if kids are still in danger and these are the things happening that my son said happened with them other kids at school and somebody is out stalking them, then that means y'all got the wrong person. And you didn't do no due diligence. Did he get his phone call? Did he get counsel? What is going on? And the chief was like, this ain't the South. We gave him access to public defense, this, and the third. And I'm just kind of like, you know what? White people in the North love to be like, because we weren't in the Union, we're different. We're not the racist South, but you are. It simply was economically and financially, like, more advantageous for you to want to end slavery. You're no better. And then the people who still wanted slavery just ended up migrating to the South. They still came from the North. I mean, hello. The whole people of Richmond, they end up going all the way down to Florida trying to call it New Richmond and do all this other stuff. Like, you're no better. And so I love, like, the call outs of racism from Charlotte and from Rose and from the other Indigenous people in the country. And I just love, like, the fact that these white people are, like, barely hiding their bigotry and everything like that. And even to give them lines and write it into the show, like when Rich was like, they wouldn't just arrest anybody without evidence. And Will was like, what America is you talking about? And so then to have this moment in this episode, Charlotte didn't even have to say nothing. She's like, so anyways, can I go see him? And the chief was like, you're not family, you're not next of kin, you're not nothing, so you're not gonna be able to see him. She said, okay. And so she did what any good lady detective does. She's nosy and she sleuths and she finds their phone numbers in the pages and she called his mama and she went over to his mama house. So she's sitting over there with Mama G and she's like, I'm doing some digging. You know, I work with people with the movement. I can help you out in something in the milk and clean, girl. Like, what is going on? So Ronnie's in the back and she's kind of eavesdropping and stuff like that. And it's actually like a good eavesdrop because this is really the first adult that is kind of on their side. Like, the lady from Juniper Hill that Lilly kind of confides in, she's giving her advice, but there's no real action behind what she's doing. She's not really giving her resources to help solve the problem. Whereas Charlotte is going out here on the front lines trying to figure out what is going on, what's going on so that she can keep her son safe and, of course, his friends. So um, I think at that point, Charlotte did know that Hank said that he was at home. But of course, the chief was like, well, you know, he lied about where he was. And so they're basically banking his imprisonment on the fact that he hasn't told anybody where he was. And Mama G is just like, listen, only two people know where that man was, God and him. And ain't now one of them talking. So Charlotte thanks her for her time and she goes back down to the police station because she about her business. So she was like, yeah, got a letter written from his mom that gives me full, total, and complete access to him. So you gonna need to let me up in this jail cell. So the guy sitting at the desk, he's threatening her and he's like, oh, you're gonna be up in this jail. This ain't the South. You can go on back down there because you're not gonna MLK your way up in here. And she's like, sir, sir, I will end all of this with one phone. One. Your whole world will come crumbling down. So try Jesus, but don't try me. Take them keys, get him out so we can have a conversation. So she goes in there, not a hair out of place. I know that's right. And so we are sitting down And she's talking to Hank, and she's like, I'm looking at least 6 violations of your rights. And I think that I can work with some people. I made some connections with the movement and everything like that. And, we have a really tight network. The movement is not just about, the advancement of rights for Black people and people of color in the South. It's about this entire nation. And, we can do some things to at least get you on house arrest and while they continue their investigation and get enough stuff to either actually pursue a case or completely get the charges dropped. But she's like, you still kind of lied. And that's the thing that they're banking on. So, sir, what's up? Like, where was you at? And he like, listen, I can't even say. And she's like, dude, nothing worse than being locked up in the air for killing 4 kids. The hell is wrong with you? And he's sitting there. He was like, I was with a woman. She goes, married? Not just married. Bring it up. Because what did I say? I said the only thing that would keep this man from clearing his name about the death of 4 white kids is if he was giving the old pokey to a white woman. Now, was it Lilly's mama, like I said? No, but it was definitely a white lady. Baby, it is 1962. And just like Hank says, they will hang me. Won't be no trial, baby. Won't be no trial. They're going to find the nearest tree and I'm going to be done for it. Won't even be no reason to fight. And it's so crazy because some people was like, oh, he's gay or all this stuff. And I'm just like, I think a Black man would have took the shame of admitting he was with another man to get out. But the way white people be coveting white women in the types of violence that was enacted upon Black men behind white women, it was clear as day to me. And it really goes to show you like the importance and kind of the hierarchy that they have in their minds, especially when it comes to racism and bigotry. This is a town where kids have been going missing for decades. And it's just posters around like, oh, this kid went missing. All right, well, we ain't find him, so it is what it is. Guess he dead or he'll just show back up. Like, they don't give a fuck about the kids. Hello. It's been proven over and over and over. But a white lady, oh my God, her delicacies hanging. So Hank is like, listen, now that you know the truth, we need to figure out a way to not get that shit out in public. So find a way to get me on house arrest so that, I can live. And, this is a very precarious situation because what if this white lady turned on you? Because that's what they do. What if she say you raped her? Like he is just, and there's just so many different layers to Hank's story. And I'm just like, oh my God. Say a little prayer for you. Because only God is gonna save you now. So we're with the Hanlon boys, right? They were suggested by Charlotte. So, go out and do something. Charlotte's telling Leroy, like, hey, hang out with your son. You've been busy at work. Now you got a little time off. You know, bond. Do something. So they end up going fishing. And, they're having a good time. They're talking. Leroy asks him about this girl because at the dinner table, in order to kind of keep the secret between Charlotte and Will, Will's at the table. He's all like in his thoughts and everything. And so Charlotte's just like, oh, it's a girl, which is part of the truth, right? So it's a good cover. And it's just a good conversation starter for the both of them while they're out fishing. And everything is going good until Will's fishing line breaks off of a fish. So Leroy, it is so weird calling him Leroy. Leroy, he goes to his car to get some extra fishing line. So everything is nice. And then this koi fish comes over, and Will is just like, man, nature is so beautiful. The water feels incredible. Just listen to these birds. Look at these trees. Like, it's been a stressful week. The boy just wants to be one with the earth. The koi fish comes over and he does what a fish does, gook, gook, and then dives underneath. And then out of nowhere, a whole burnt hand snatches Will's ass underneath the water. And it's like this weird, burnt, distorted version of his dad. And he says, "You'll burn too." And so Will is like screaming, gasping for breath, doing all these other things. Leroy hurries up, heads over, grabs Will, and he is freaking out. And he's like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Oh my God, like something you tried to kill me." Like, "Oh my God, we need to hurry get it out of here. Like, why are you talking to me in this water? Get me out of these waters." And so Leroy's like, "What? What? Like who?" And he was like, "It was you." And it was an image of you burned up after your plane crash in the wars. Leroy's like, "Man, you talk crazy. Like, nah, man, like this ain't nothing, da da da. Tell me the truth." And he looks down at his son and he got scratches and bloody handprints all over his arms. And Will looks up and Leroy's following his eyes because Will's breath is gone. He ain't even breathing at this point. And Leroy turns around and it's just this red balloon floating across the lake. And at first, I'm like, Leroy's not going to be able to see this fucking balloon. But sure enough, we have our first adult that's not Hallorann who is seeing what these kids are seeing. And so I'm like, okay, the Hanlons, okay, they are Ace Ventura pet detective up in this house. So again, loving it. And Will looks at his dad and he says, "Dad, there's something bad here in Derry." And with everything that's going on with the helicopter ride and Hallorann being able to get into um Leroy Major, I'm gonna just go back to Major because it's just weird. And get into Major's head, all too doubting his son at this moment. Because something is up. So parking it right there, we're gonna go to the school. Will is so smart. And he tells them about the lake and he poses a hypothesis that is absolutely incredible. He was like, "What if it doesn't want to kill us? Like right now, it's just been kind of like taunting us." And so Lilly was like, "Yeah, like all of them say that they experienced different things before it ended up taking them." And so Will's like, "Okay, what if it's just trying to get us scared to the point where we are right? We are a juicy, medium rare Wagyu steak, and then it's gonna eat us." So Rich is like, "Oh, I didn't talk about this. Like, what do you mean? They're gonna eat us?" And Will's like, "Bro, this is the only thing that makes sense." And Lilly, she on board because at this point, she ain't got no doubts in nobody. She been getting taunted from the beginning. She done seen too much. And so Will's like, we have to find a way to fight fear. Like there has to be some way for us to not have a fear response without harming the amygdala the way that Major kind of is, right? With that type of injury. And Lily was like, "I got just the thing. Hold my Xannies." So they're back at school and she's like, "Hey." So my mama called her like happy pills. So whenever she be getting overwhelmed and she be taking it and she was like, "Oh my God, like it makes me feel really good." So you know, introducing drug dependency because like I was like, there was like a period of people like the drug epidemic, getting high, LSD, all those other things. It's like, damn, what if they was just scared, Like it's one thing to kind of run away from like a fucked up family life and stuff like that, but they were trying to not feel fear. That's crazy. So the start of maybe potentially their future drug habits, is the Xannies. And so Will's like, all right, because now at this point he's 12 years old again. He had like an incredible hypothesis, and now he's like, all right, when something start happening, we just take a pill. Are you gonna remember? And where are you keeping this pill at that you're just going to have it on hand? Something happens at all times of the day. So the logic behind it was that of a child. But you know what? He's doing his best with what he has. Okay. Ain't nobody else coming up with no ideas. So they're in class and there's a documentary about like parasitic, what is it? Parasitic insects and things like that when Big Pat is giving Marge the eyes to make up with Lily. So she's like, hey, like, how about we have lunch together because I just really miss my friend. And Lily's like, "Mm, that'll be swell." So they go to lunch and Marge is just like, girl, I miss you. Like, what is up? What is tea? What's Ronnie like? And Lily's like, girl, I agreed to have lunch with you, but I'm not here to gossip. What's up? And Marge is just like, well, I'm not trying to gossip. I'm just trying to figure out like what's going on. You got new friends. You hanging out with them a lot. Maybe I'll actually like your friends. Like, what's up? When somebody named Tim comes over, he looks like a jock or whatever. And he's like, hey, Marge. And he's like, hey, Lily. And so Marge is like, oh my God, girl, did you see how he looked at you? Oh, baby. You should go and talk to him. Capitalize on this girl. He could take you to the dance. So Lily's like, are you for real? And Margie was like, girl, do I wear glasses? Yes, I'm for real. So Lil's like, okay, let me go to the bathroom. Let me cover my nose. Let me freshen up. What a 12-year-old got to do to freshen up? You gotta just chew some gum, but okay, whatever. So she goes to the bathroom. So Pat and the gang comes over and they're like, all right, she's falling for it. And I knew this was a trap, but it just kind of sucks to be right sometimes because now that it's all set, you really get to see Marge look ill with like instant remorse. So Big Pat ain't got time for this. Patty and the patty cakes, they're like, get your ass in the bathroom, tell her to hurry and come out so he can humiliate her. And this can be like the best day of all of our lives. You'll definitely be issue it. So she's like, all right, whatever. So she goes to the bathroom, Lily in the bathroom, and she's like, Lily girl, I got something to tell you, bitch. Like, you're not gonna believe it. And in the middle of her getting ready to confess her sins, her eye starts hurting. And yeah, I think I said this before on the podcast. I don't like eye stuff. I could watch something fall out of your throat. I have been in the room assisting a provider pull shit out of somebody's ass during a disimpaction because they got too constipated from their medication. I have been in procedures where they are pulling synovial fluid out of your knees, and that shit stank. Baby, you come to me with your eyes watering, I'm done. So blood vessels are popping and her eyes are bulging out of her socket. And I'm like, ugh. Okay. So Lily's like, Marge, girl, what is going on? What's going on? So she can't get out of the bathroom at all. Marge is like, oh my God, I can't. So she's like trying to like yank the eye out. I don't even know what she was feeling inside because she's trying to get this thing out versus trying to push her eyes in. And so at this point, I feel like this scene is the connection to the parasitic insect and like what parasites do. And I feel like maybe what she was feeling was like some type of worm feeling and trying to get it out of her. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Maybe in the next episode she explains like what's going on, but I feel like the sensation was something in her versus, oh my God, my eyes are falling out. Let me push them back into my head. Either way, the cinematography on this, when they're looking at like her point of view and everything's like through a bubble, like a distortion, it kind of reminded me of when you go to the aquarium and they got like that little dome thing and you can put your head in like the tank. That's what it looked like. Um, and so she ends up in shop class and she's like, I gotta get whatever. So she's like stabbing her eye. I'm like, and it's not enough. It is not enough, y'all. She goes over to this table. And I said, they're not gonna do it. They're not gonna do it. But the people, what's this writer's name? Helen Shang. She said, we're doing it for the vine. And I'm like, she ain't gonna do it. Do it for the vine. She ain't gonna do it. Ah, she put her face on the table, y'all. And this is one of those like electric saw machines that you can do like circular when you're trying to like cut your wood and stuff in circular or get like the zigzag and stuff. I was in shop class. I love shop class. I used to make a whole bunch of shit in 8th grade. Um, and she puts her face down. And Lilly finally busts out that bathroom. And she comes in there and she's like, Marge, no. She takes her out and she saws it off. And I'm just like, kill me now. And so she's screaming and she's writhing on the floor and she gets another, it's like one of those metal, it's a metal like sanding tool. And she gets it and like Lilly is wrestling her to the ground because at this point, like Marge is like, I'm like, I can't do the eyes. And the kids come into the room because at this point it's like hella commotion. And when they come in, they don't see Lilly trying to stop Marge. They see Lilly with the tool in her hand, blood everywhere. And Margie with a freaking eye gouged out her head. I said, oh, Lilly, no. Lilly, not you again. My girl cannot get a break. Yo, she cannot get a break. Oh my God. It's been, oh, Lilly. Lilly, they might let Hank out of jail and put you in there at this point because what? What? The universe is conspiring against her specifically. And now I'm thinking, was the death of her father like a prelude to this? Because she's getting haunted way more than anybody else. I mean, bad, bad, bad. So now I'm thinking, was that like, it was like year prior, so it wasn't like the 27-year thing, but I don't know. Something just feels real personal about this. Lily Bainbridge, you're the unluckiest girl in the world. So moving along, we're with Hallorann. And, you know, he got him a new spot. The general promised him a spot where him and the other 3 Black people that's in the military can hang out. It's some old rundown ass shack, but in true Sinners vibe, let's put this music on, get us a little liquor, clean it up, and we gonna have a nice little juke joint. And I'm pretty sure in the books, when there was like a recount of something, I think this was the juke joint that burned down. It's called like the Black something, but I think this is the one that ends up burning down, right? Very, I know like it came out before Sinners, but I mean, come on. It's very Sinners coded. But how they getting everything together, Hallorann goes outside, you know, he's finishing getting some stuff from the truck. when out of nowhere, his brain is on fire. He is getting accosted with a vision, and there's like a silhouette of a clown. But then it's his grandmother again from when he was visiting over the site. And she tells him, keep your mind shut. And like on the tail end of this, Major pulls up. And Major was like, hey man, how's it going? Actually, really don't give a shit about that. What the hell are we doing? What does Shaw and Fuller have us doing? And Hallorann is like, hey man, you got to mind the business that pays you, man. This ain't something you don't even want to get into. I don't even want to be in it. But unfortunately, I am. You don't have to. So stay out of it as best as possible. And Major does the thing. And I love this so much because in the movie that I wrote and shot and directed all of that stuff in the summer, I wrote it with the character not keeping things to themselves. And a lot of times in horror shows and horror movies, they don't say nothing. They just be suffering. And then they finally tell somebody when it's too late. So I love that Major was like, hey, bump all of that. My son just got attacked in a lake, and he said that it was me. But it was a me that was on fire, and the way that I looked when he wasn't even there for the accident that happened. And so Howard's like, you believe him? He was like, listen, I'm not gonna say that he lied. Because when I looked at my son, he had scratches and bruises and blood all over him. And I didn't do it. He didn't do it. He looked me dead in my face and said, there's something here in Derry. So you, sir, who can read minds, and the general got you going all over the place. What the fuck is going on? Negro to Negro. Like, help a brother out. So I don't even know, man. Howard is just kind of like, it ain't my story to tell, bro. And you could just kind of see like them just having like that stare off and just having like their niggalepathy going on. And it's just like, oh, okay. So later that night, Major, every time he come home, he always agitated. I don't like that. Because why your family gotta be at the burnt end of your family? So of course, he's starting a fight. He's like, oh, what you do today? She was like, nothing. That's crazy because Paulie said he saw you down at the police station. First off, Paulie, mind your business. Like, you getting tabs on your bestie's wife, sir. It ain't like you saw her at the club in some other man lap. Like, what are we doing? And so, um, Major is like, don't be looking for trouble. This ain't the South. Like, you can't be doing all that stuff up here. We're trying to keep a low profile. I'm just trying to keep everything up. And so Charlotte is like taken aback because I know you ain't that audacious. But she puts on her happy face and she's like, okay, you girl, you ain't gotta say another word. And it's in that tone and with that face and in that pitch that says, I'm just acquiescing so I don't cuss you out right now. Don't need to be fighting. In this household, with my kids, about where I've been, because I'm a grown ass woman. So she like, okay, whatever. So Will was upstairs and he's trying to sleep all day. And we done went through some stuff. And he can't sleep. So, he gets up and he goes and he's looking through his telescope. He's trying to get some peace. He's trying to go to the thing that he loves the most, science, and just peruse and just kind of let his mind go adrift so that he can get bored enough to get back into bed. So he sees a man walking his dog. And, he's just panning it around when he gets to the tree and there's a dark shadow in the shape of the clown figure that they saw in the picture. So he's screaming, hollering, everything. So they both running upstairs. They're like, son, what is going on? He's like, somebody's outside of our window. And this part broke my heart a little bit, but not enough. Because what does the major say to Charlotte? This is all your fault. Now you got people coming outside of our house. I said, oh my God. Divorce. Because I got people looking for our son. Negro, did you read the papers that 4 other kids are dead? That, that was before we even got here. So what are you talking about? But okay, whatever. The son, he's shaking up. Charlotte is still with her baby. And he runs outside. So he got a bag. He's like, show yourself. Da 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 da. Right. So all the white people looking through the blinds because they're trying to figure out, who is this non-white sounding voice in the middle of the street. So he's out there in his pajamas and he ends up hearing the sound and he's looking at the tree. He's near where the sun was heading. And what is there? A red balloon. Yeah, Negro. You know what's up. You know what that means. So next day, he goes up into General Shaw's office and can't nobody stop him. He was like, get the fuck off that phone, my dude. What is going on? So General Shaw's like, hey, I'm gonna call you back. So he walks him out, he takes him somewhere else, and they're in like the secluded interrogation room. And Hallorann is in there with Rose's nephew, Daniel. So he was like, yeah, they've been around, scoping out the spot, and we know that they holding something back from us to find what we looking for. So Hallorann is gonna get it out of him. And so Hallorann's in there like, hey, brown person to brown person, bro, just tell me what they need so I don't have to do what they want me to do to you. And Tail leans forward like he's gonna tell him a secret. And he spits in his face. Now listen. I'm all for kin folk and skin folk, even my light skinned folk. You spit on me on purpose? I'm seeing red. And the only way you're gonna live is if somebody can pry my hands off of your throat. But Halloran's like, Ira, we doing it the hard way. And he's using his brain power to get in Daniel's mind. And I love this scene because he's locking in, he's honing in, he's getting there, and it's painful for the both of them, but more so for Daniel. And then Hallorann is holding like his hand, and then he just goes and you just get this shot where he's covering his whole face and his eyes are split by his index finger. And then it's like, boom, we're in Daniel's mind and we're in this room with so many different doors. But he hears a voice that says, I have to tell you something. So he follows that door, and it's a young Daniel and a younger Rose. She comes in there and she was like, listen, things is happening. I need to know if you remember the story of our ancestors and our people about these lands. And so Daniel's like, yeah, you talking about the Galoot? She said, okay, tell me bar for bar what you remember. And we get the story of Pennywise. So, you know, eons ago, there was a falling star, and then the spirit was set free when the star broke, and it was roaming the woods until the creation of their ancestors. And from there, it was like feeding on people in order to keep its energy and stuff like that. So then, um, somebody ended up making a dagger out of the star as a weapon to fight it and keep it at bay. And of course, a woman. Um, and then they ended up trapping it. Not really trapping it, but they kept it at bay enough, and it just wasn't strong enough to even come out and bother people in the open outside of this space. And so it just stayed in the woods. It was the Western woods. Then, of course, white people showed up. And the Indigenous was like, those white men are evil. Cue the story of savages from Pocahontas because everything went downhill once these white people came. The natives were like, hey, don't go in there. And they were like, we're taking everything because we're white. And so they go in there and got the fuck up. But it was enough of them to gorge on that it ended up making the Galoo so powerful that now he was able to roam outside of these woods. Now, the rest of the story, you're going to have to watch this episode. I don't want to go play by play. It was a beautiful storytelling of the Indigenous peoples and just their influence and their footprint in this story. It was absolutely beautiful. It was layered. It was touching. It was tragic. And it was very powerful. So watch the show. And also the way that they were able to retrap him, genius. Love it. But you know, you got to be in touch with your spirituality. You got to be in touch with the ancestors and stuff like that. And you know, the colonizers was just, you know, mine, mine, everything over there, mine. And, you know, the Galoo was like, and y'all are mine. That's bon appetit. So during this, the story ends and Hallorann freezes the entire thing. And he ends up making his presence known. And he makes Daniel's subconscious aware of him. And so he's like, thank you for giving me that. Now show me where it's at. So at this point, young Daniel transforms into the Daniel that's actually locked up in his room. And they take him to this run down house. And y'all know the house. Y'all know the house. And he's like, go through there. In them tunnel. In there you will find the pillars. Hallorann looking at Daniel. Daniel looking at Hallorann. Hallorann looking at this house. And his eyes is like, bruh. Hell no. Stop. There's that, guys. It. Welcome to Derry. Season 1, episode 4. Before we get into the rest of these segments, I just have to stop here and be like, I was right. I was right. Gotta say it again about Hank. Gotta say it again. I enjoy being right. You would think I was a Virgo. I'm not. That's how much I love it. And so, yeah. Was I right about Margie? So I did say last episode I wanted Patty to die before Marge. Marge is gravely ill, but I'm still holding on to that. So, you know, at this point moving forward, if I'm guessing some stuff right, we just don't boast about it. So I just have to say that. It is what it is. All right. Moving into the segment behind the lens, so we're talking about strength, weaknesses, direction, camera, all of the things that go into making this episode what it is. Strengths, so many. One, the relationship between Charlotte and Will, I said it up top during the previous segment, it is so beautiful. And it's actually a really healthy bond between a mother and a son. She gives him enough room to be autonomous and to think for himself without crowding his space and giving him room to grow. But she steps in as a mom and as that adult figure in his life in a way that no other adult is stepping in with any other kid in this neighborhood. And not only is she a mother to her son, she's a mother to the kids that she don't even know. And so that really shines in this episode with Charlotte. She gets the information from Will. She believes him and she takes action for him and for everybody else. So I just really love that. Absolutely love the infusion of Black culture and Indigenous culture in this episode, just from the juke joint scene and the music and just like the energy and just the vibe of them having their own space without being looked at by people who want to kill them, without being looked at by people who feel like they don't belong. And like that is still a thing to this day. Like we like being in the spaces with our people because that's where we feel the safest. And so just that small moment of reprieve, at least for Hallorann, his homeboys, they're having a good time. And, General Shaw can't make people not racist, but he can at least put them in a place where they feel safe. And again, the costuming, the casting of actual Indigenous people and not the white people with spray tans, the way that, natives were erased in, film and TV shows from back in the day with white people being cast in these roles. And so to get people who know the culture and know the story and be able to represent that authentically on the screen, incredible on their part. It really just makes it makes the story of it so much fuller when you realize the absence of their presence in the miniseries of the 90s, in 2017 and in 2019. And you get it now and you realize that it's the power of them that that allows those other iterations to have the information to defeat this being in the first place. So I just love that so much. Uh-uh. The special effects and the practical effects and the VFX went crazy this episode. Shout out to all of them in the department. Like, it was just like one thing after another. And included in this is like the pacing and the beats and the scares and all of these different things. It was just perfect. This, honestly, out of all of the 4 episodes that aired so far, this is like the perfect episode to me. It's perfect. Um, the story of Pennywise was perfectly placed, not only within this episode, but just again, the timeline of the information that we're receiving so far within this season. Perfect. And then the jump scares. Y'all, I don't get scared. I love scary stuff. I go to the movies and sit in row E or F, dead center, because I want to feel like I'm in the movies. And the last time I was genuinely scared from like a scary movie or a TV show was The Conjuring 2, and the first time we ever met Valak. Scared the shit out of me, y'all. I'm like staying up, I watch cartoons, I need to watch Conjuring 2 in the daylight. Like, and it's still it's in my top 5 scariest movies of all time. Like, I love it so much. But that was the last time I was like scared, right? When that hand came out that lake, it wasn't like a I jumped back on my couch, picked my feet up off the floor, and was like curling into myself because I'm like, oh my God. Like, it's like you know something is gonna happen, but then you don't know what's gonna happen. And then that happened. And I was just like, bruh. Then, of course, for me, with the eyes, because I don't like eyes, that just was like a really big jump scare for me, especially when she saw her eyes off. I said, oh my God. Oh my God, I'm about to throw up. Like, I'm about to throw up. So the fact that like I can be scared, ugh, it's so great. I will just watch The Exorcist for fun. And Annabelle, I will watch all those movies right now. Like that's how much I love scary movies. I will watch La Llorona. Like, I just love it so much. And I love it so much that it always I'm just more intrigued by story now than like fear. But that got me. I'm not even gonna hold you. You ain't got your boy. Woo! Weaknesses? None. 10 out of 10, top to bottom. Episode perfection. Perfection. Now, moving into our segment that we call B-roll. We're talking about speculations and predictions. Dun dun dun. What is Kimanchi gonna come up with next? Let's find out. Boom. Biggest one. Biggest one. I don't think that what happened to Marge was Marge's point of view of Pennywise's, like, haunting. I think it was a trick to the audience, and it was actually Lilly being haunted in this moment. But by making the POV Marge and then Lilly being trapped and all of these other things, it makes you think, oh, Lily's gonna be brought into the fold, with the kids and all these crazy things and stuff going on, which I mean, she ain't gonna lie. She might. But I feel like when we got the final shot of Lilly on the toilet and everything started happening, I think that while Marge was running down the hallway and all of these different things and stuff was happening, and she's running from something and she's running away and she's getting all these weapons and all these other things, I think Marge was actually running from Lilly. I'm just putting it there. It's giving real, oh my God. And oh my God, what movie or TV show does this remind me of? Oh my God. Like Fight Club. Like when all of these things were happening and then all of a sudden it was like the realization, like, no, it was you the whole time. Or like Stigmata, right? Like, I don't know, something about it felt familiar. And I was just like, this is not Marge's fear. This is Lily's fear. And I think she actually attacked Marge. And if they got cameras in this school, oh my God. Oh my God. Or if Marge is like, no, like you attacked me. And then we get like a flashback to what really happened and Lily gets like her memories of what happened. That would be sick. That would be sick. Oh my God. Oh my God, that would be sick. If I wrote this, I would have did that. Okay, so that's that. And then I think that Hallorann's consciousness, like some of it, is gonna get trapped in Daniel's mind and like on this journey. And that's gonna be the thing that allows Pennywise to actually be released. Cause he said in the last episode, like, this we ain't supposed to be here. It's not supposed to see us. Whatever this is, we should not be seen. I'm just simply supposed to be a passenger. But now kind of going through this, I think he's gonna get trapped in there. And your granny just said, keep your mind shut. It's done. It's over. Mind blown wide open. And then, um, let's see. I meant to put this on the strengths, but sure, we'll leave it here. Um, the Hanlons survive. And Hallorann is surviving. So at this point, no Black person's harmed in the making of the film. And I love that so much. And I don't think any Black people are gonna die. Bro, if the Black people can make it out of this season, this will go down in history as the first show or film that didn't kill the Black people off. First or last. Hey, don't let me down. Don't let me down, Muschietti. Don't do it. And moving into our final segment, our hot reel segment, where we talk about hot takes, scene stealers, performers of the week, and just other things that we genuinely liked and that stood out to us while we were watching this. And maybe it's something that you thought about as I was explaining these things, right? Scene of the week. It goes to two scenes. The lake scene and Margie in that bathroom, like incredible. That's going to be talked about for forever. Forever. It's going to be talked about forever. Incredible scenes, incredible storytelling, incredible fear, not only through the characters, but for the audience as well. Like, just very gag worthy. Um, Great cinematography, great cinema, beautifully shot, the color grading, all of it. Like, you just were really drawn in to the panic of those moments. As far as the performers of the week, giving it to two people as well. Blake Cameron James, who plays Will, and Taylour Paige as Charlotte. It was just something really beautiful about them on the screen that just felt good. Like, I don't know what it is. It just really brings you back to earth with them. Like, the story of this is just the imagination's dream. Like, it's so out and kind of all over the place. But with their relationship and with that trust, you have these impossible things happening. And Charlotte's trying to make the impossible make sense and make it possible to be solved in the earthly realm without ridicule. And so just watching them go back and forth, um, it was just really nice to see what they brought to this episode. So it was really nice. Scene stealers, though, again, Chris Chalk as Hallorann, I mean, what a captivating human being on camera. I need to go down everything that he's done. Like, when he's on screen, I don't care about nobody else. Like, incredible. Incredible. And I really just need him to like have so many other major studio projects after this. I enjoy watching him. I can get lost in him. And from some of the things that I've seen on the internet, seems like it's a sentiment with a lot of people. He's just harrowing and he's afraid, but he's menacing and he's sinister. Like just the energies and stuff that he carries and brings to this character with like somebody who had this gift his whole life. He just has, you just feel the wisdom, feel the ancestors. You just feel all of that power moving through him while also understanding that he doesn't even understand the breadth of his power yet either. It's really nice. And then I'm gonna give it to Matilda Longwear. I'm gonna give it to young Matilda who plays Marge because I'm not gonna get the scene out of my mind at all. At all. The Derry page, official pages, put out newspapers with this girl on it like, yo, she did what needed to be done. Even the scenes in the bathroom where she's crying and she's really wrestling with like her consciousness here. We finally saw a Marge that we have not seen yet. She's been so cold and so callous, so self-absorbed, so narcissistic. And in these moments, you're finally seeing somebody who is recognizing their choices and understanding how it can hurt. And so there was just more of a vulnerable quality that she brought to this character before, all hell broke loose. So shout out to them. And then I added this in here because hello, Taylour, Paige, Charlotte. Best line. Okay. And I might keep this going forward. So that means I gotta keep my ears open for some things. When Charlotte tells the Major after he was like, you always making trouble, like you need to stop, da da da. And she was like, there'll be trouble everywhere we go. That's the country you swore your life to defend. Hello. Hello. Sir, I'm bringing trouble. I'm black. They're gonna look at me and think I'm trouble anyway. So, like, why are you my enemy right now? Why? Which leads me into my hot take. Major is not a good man, Savannah. He is not. Like every time he was on scene with his wife, you're blaming her. You're trying to temper her. You're trying to reel her in. You are trying to tame her. To what end? To her detriment, to her unhappiness? What does that mean? How long does she have to guard who she is and be inauthentic? For what? You signed up to serve the military, not her. And even still, the only reason you get a little bit of the respect that you get is because you're an officer and you're a pilot. And so they're looking at you as a black man who got an education, but you still are a nigga to them. So what? I'm supposed to not live? That doesn't make any sense. And to know me and to know things from all the other shows that I cover on the show, I do not like terrible husbands. And Major, you are skating on the line to tell her she's making trouble, then to blame her for somebody outside your son window stalking him. Like, mm-mm. The one time was a side eye. The second time, you can go sleep with Paul. Go to his house. Says I'm such a problem. Bye. Bye, y'all. Go to your friend's house because you're not welcome here. Okay? And y'all can disagree with me. Kiwanchi, have grace. Like, no, he's just scared. He's honest with things. I don't care. Because she already told you a couple of episodes ago, why you coming home? Why you fighting me? Why you coming in? She done already made you aware of how you've been talking to him. And so then you go do this. You're giving Hallorann more grace and understanding. You're giving General Shaw more grace and understanding than the woman that you married, the woman who pushed out your big head ass kid. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. You got one more time. One more time, and I'm lighting it up. Okay? Okay. And with that, we're gonna wrap up this episode. What do we think, guys? What do we think? I would love to know. Interact with me, babes. It goes down. Listen, everybody was already in my TikToks last week when they watched this episode. They were like, oh my God, you were right, you were right, you're right. So people are out here, they're hungry. They talk. And, I don't bite, really. And with that, y'all know the drill. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave comments in the comments box below. If you got people that only want to listen, make sure you share the Spotify and Apple Podcast link. You can also follow me on Instagram at So There's That Podcast, where I post other film and TV news and updates. And I also have the link to my Substack, where I do written publication and articles on things that I do not talk about on the show and some things that I talk about on the show. But the articles just go more into a deep dive with themes and different characters and a little bit more background analysis on shows as a whole and not necessarily play by play recap. So if you got people that want to read, see what's coming up, what's coming out, then head on over to Substack under So There's That Podcast. You can also find me on TikTok at Kimanchi, where I do short form reviews on shows that I do not talk about on this platform. You can also find me on my main Twitter page at Kimanchi, where I talk about everything under the sun as it pertains to the film industry and the music industry, and occasionally, food, my dogs, stuff like that. And you can also find the official podcast Twitter at Pod. So there's that, where again, I'm just sharing the information that I talk about on all of my podcasts, all of my platforms. And then there's still like some exclusive nuggets and stuff that goes on that's just specifically kept on Twitter. So if you're looking for me, you can look for me in Kimashi. You can look at me. So there's that podcast. I'm everywhere, just like Pennywise. So with that, I will catch y'all in the next podcast episode.